Grace, thanks so much for hanging with us today. It's so good to be with you.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for this interview.
Okay, so one of the ways that you describe yourself is the authenticity and personal power pro. So, to get us started, I want to hear about this idea of authenticity. We utilize that term a lot in our world and, of course, in the spirituality world. What does authenticity mean to you? And why is that so important to you?
Well, authenticity to me is really being true to your essence, being true to yourself, being true to, quote, your soul. And um, a lot of times we don't even know when we're being inauthentic because we wear these masks of perfection, masks of competence, when deep inside we're shaking and whatnot. And it shows up a lot like in job interviews, and it also shows up in first dates, right? Because we always want to put our best foot forward. And so it becomes a really interesting dance of, well, how do you put your best foot forward without lying, but still feeling congruent and in integrity with yourself on the inside?
The
That
same thing is
helpful?
true. Same thing is true with social media. A lot of times, right? We're
Oh,
putting our best foot forward, and then you have other people that just kind of let it all fly.
well, it's
Yeah.
it's not the let it all fly stuff. For me, authentic. So that was a really great defining question because the internet and social media. There's so many talking heads out there. And I was struck one day. I was scrolling through my news feed on LinkedIn until I found one woman who wasn't saying anything. She was just walking, and there was some walking with some soothing music and some words of wisdom. And that was such a calming balm that I stopped and paused. Whereas the talking heads were like, yep, 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 yep. And so to define it even deeper, to me, authenticity is really coming from your heart, coming from your soul, and being true,
Why is
speaking
that?
truth.
Why is that so important to be an authentic person?
Well, if you want to make an impact, if you want true connection, if you want true happiness, false advertising doesn't really give you that outcome. And so, if when you're authentic and true to yourself, and say, I really don't like that, in the face if you're a woman and there's this hot guy wanting to take you on a date and you're like, well, I don't like something about you, you risk that rejection. So yeah, maybe you risk that rejection in the moment, but if you continue that down the line and when you're in relationship, maybe even get married, then those differences show up and no one's happy because one's false advertising and one is like what do you call it? One's tolerating the other, and the other one is not being themselves. They're not happy and they don't know why.
Which, of course, then resentment kind of crops up, and that's true whether it's romantic relationships or business partnerships or even just providing services to our world. So, take me back to your story of awakening to spirituality, consciousness, mindfulness. Did you grow up with some sort of spirituality in your home, or was that more new for you later in life?
Well, of course I went to church, but that was more of a duty. And my mom, she didn't go to church with us. She had a different religion, so she listened to it on the radio. So I got some of what she had on the radio and then at church. But spirituality for me really happened when I was 40. I had walked on fire at a Tony Robbins event. My husband, on my 40th birthday exactly, and my husband and I entered his 18-month training program. And it wasn't until the last day, the last hour, the last seminar that I realized, oh, everything wrong in my marriage wasn't his fault. There was like things that I needed help with. And to make it worse was I was micromanaging him so much that I really hadn't gotten a lot. And so what happened, I said, what do I do? And I'm leaving the auditorium, and a set of hands on my shoulders turned and pushed me towards the leadership table, where I pulled out a paid off credit card and entered the program, where that was my initiation, my learning into NLP, spirituality, um, all the life mastery tricks, all of Tony's um, techniques. And that worked really well for a while because, back then I was very brain dominant and very results oriented. So I would just pull up my bootstraps, find a goal, and go for it. And like you walk on fire. When you walk on fire, you get the job done. Yeah. But you're numb. You don't feel things because you're so focused on purpose, which is a double edged sword that is not a easy path to navigate. You have to be pretty aware.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hearing that you had this awakening at this Tony Robbins event where you're like, okay, this is not just my husband's fault in terms of like whatever the relationship challenge was, that there were things going on inside of you. You dove deep into Tony's transformational teachings. How many years were you kind of really focused on more of a Tony Robbins approach to life?
I would say probably 4, 5, 10 years. During that time, almost immediately, I enrolled in another life mastery coach university. It's
Mm-hmm.
one of the very first um, life coach trainings online with Thomas Leonard. He passed. And along the way, I started realizing I had a lot of victim mentality to myself that I didn't know. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know that you're being a victim till things don't work. And so I started pulling things off of me one at a time. Boo hoo, my dad did this. Boo hoo, my mom didn't do that. And that's painful. And it's harsh because, it's loss of love, loss of connection. And that hurts. And that's why we put up our boundaries. That's why we put up our masks that make us inauthentic. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Yes. So a lot of what Tony brings to the table, although there is some spirituality, it's definitely a higher level of personal development, consciousness of what's going on, self-reflection, identity. Did spirituality come into that in future years, or how did it come into your life?
Um, well, definitely diving into other trainings ancillary to Tony was, Barbara DeAngelis, Brian Tracy, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra. So I inhaled those, took little mini trainings along the way. I got certified as a Reiki master and other little tiny energy healings along the way. And I think I learned EFT with Gary Craig back before 2000, like I think it was 1998 or 1999. Um, but I really didn't give that a lot of credence until probably 15 years later, when I was running into. So my big focus for healing was to become a better mom and to have open my heart and trust love, and also to make money working for myself, because
Mhm.
I could excel jumping through someone else's hoops, right? And that's another part of that mask authentic thing. But when you're really, especially if you're a healer or of any kind coach, and your business is based on a heart centered soul calling, that's a really vulnerable place. And so self sabotaging walls come up all over the place. So I was really struggling with that. And I had just come through probably 18 months of clearing the liberation channel, the lower three chakras, the consciousness of that. And it was harsh again. And I kept praying for, can this be gentler, easier, more Cadillac? Because if I'm having a hard time and I'm a tough cookie, not everybody's going to be able to do this, and the world's going to be really screwed.
Mhm.
So I ended up one night um, talking to my guides, asking them, I was like pleading with them. And I kept hearing, "What do you want? What do you want?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what do I want? I'm telling you, I want to make more money. I want to have my heart open." Like, what's that? How more clear can I get? And so I just kind of went inside and went, okay, what do I want? And the moment I said, I want to let go of the push, lightning bolts came to my body, lifted me off the bed in my chest. Like when you're getting shocked on the ER table, it was just exactly like that. And I was like, wow. um, and so that was another spiritual awakening that happened.
What do you sense that that was, and what was the message that you took from it?
Well, since they kind of validated to let go of the push, and I was a control freak, and I was always trying to make things happen, Tony Robbins style. Not that that's what I took from Tony Robbins. I'm sure that's not all of him, but that's what I took. Um, I took the message that I needed to surrender more
Hmm.
and drop into my heart and trust my heart more. But I didn't know how to do that. And then what so I asked for help, of course, and through a series of synchronicities, I ended up in energy healing school, another life mastery energy healing school. And the day the teacher played crystal singing bowls tuned to activate our life purpose energy centers, not our chakras, but the dantian, your soul, your high heart, your aha point, discernment point, and of course, your pineal pituitary, your third eye. As each bowl, one of those bowls rang, each one of those centers opened, and I saw visions, and I started laughing out loud, and I was just electricity again. It wasn't the chest electricity; it was more like blue light electricity. It was running through my body. I'm like, "Holy cats!" You know. So, what I got from that, well, I was always that was pretty weird for me. And I didn't want to tell anybody about it because I didn't, even though I was in energy healing school, I felt really, really weird. So I kind of tabled it.
Hmm.
And I think the universe really wanted to get my attention because it happened again, where I had another awakening that put me on a undeniable spiritual journey where I was uh, inundated by negative energies. I would say dark, evil energies. They were filling my mind with horrible words about, colorful words about who I was,
Hmm.
and then what they wanted to do to my kids and how they were going to burn down my house. And um, that was a very, very difficult time of keeping my mental, um, my mind and spirit centered on love, centered on God, centered on the light. And that took a lot of will, a lot of tenacity, and a lot of time. And at the end of that, I knew that my spiritual mission was way more important than my life. And the big thing that I came from it was just clear based on, well, what happened from there was at night in meditation, or I would wake up in that deep healing meditation, my guides would come to me and show me relationship conflicts that I needed to heal. And they started training me using this soul purpose archetype system that I learned in energy healing school. Reese Thomas, he's the one that came up with it. And I just was shown how to heal relationships quicker, faster, easier, gently. And it wasn't overnight. It was every night, but not overnight. For probably about 3, 4, 5 years. And from that, I've come up with a really quick, fast, easy way to heal your stuff, to be authentic and be proud of it.
Mm.
to be authentic and to make an impact
Mhm.
from the heart, from the soul. And you may ask why that's important. Well, because soul to soul communication is what registers, is what makes change. In talking heads, logic, right? Logic is survival. And there's so much now where it's like, I don't know about you, but flatline for me is like, what? Turn that off. But soul to soul
Mhm.
is what triggers. And there's something called mirror neurons that, so we recognize feelings. And so that's what I am here to teach. It's just obvious from my journey. I mean, you can call it the hero's journey, right? When my journey is to teach strong women how to open their hearts, trust love, and be authentic with their soul's purpose so they know without a doubt that who they are and why they are here is a good reason. And they're on purpose.
Mhm. Beautiful. So you described a lot of programs and trainings and experiences that you went through personally for your own healing. At what point along that process did you start to think, okay, I actually can utilize these tools to help other people, not just myself?
Oh, I've been doing it since Tony Robbins.
So, from the very
So
beginning of that personal development journey.
yeah, I've been helping people for almost, well, it's 20, twould be 28 years in February.
hmm hmm Who do you tend to work with now? I know you just mentioned powerful kind of women. Who do you see like, okay, this is the group of people that I'm most passionate about? And what is it that are the common challenges that they have and the end result that you're trying to get them?
Well, actually, there's two sets of women. The first set of women are the super achievers. They've made it in the world, but they look back on their lives empty, or they look back on their life and they're like, oh, I left out my kids and my family. I have all this stuff, I have all these achievements, but that's one. And then they're passionate about it. Another symptom that they have, especially for high achieving women, is sometimes their family has um, blocked them from seeing their children or their grandchildren, and they don't understand why. And when I explain it from the soul personality perspective, they fully understand, and then compassion for themselves and for their family members for why they might have done that, it becomes apparent, and it's easy to forgive. And the cool thing is, like, when you forgive, you might have heard this before because this is your business. You interview all this people, right? So you might have heard this before, but when you forgive, you're opening up your fourth chakra. And at the same time, your sixth and seventh chakra open so that you are able to see the relationship through the eyes of the divine. And so it's an up leveling of the soul. And I'm passionate about that, especially for women in power, because as they realize that, not only do they heal their families, but the businesses they run, the people they impact, they get to filter that out. And so it's an exponential. Um, I love that.
Mhm.
So there's that one. And then the other group of people that are near and dear to my heart are people like me, the heart centered entrepreneurs that just can't make money working for themselves. And I've got a whole program. This is how you do it. This is the mindset you have. And here's the healing so that your mindset, so that your nervous system matches your mindset.
Mhm. You've mentioned it a couple times here in the beginning parts of our conversation, but I see it a lot in your work is the concept of your own personal power, like
Yeah.
that you have this power. Why is that such a key part of your message? And maybe help us think through that a little bit, why we should be concerned about our own personal power.
So remember, we talked about the importance of authenticity
Mhm.
in the beginning. So authenticity is hidden from masks. And masks come from compromising yourself in order to fit in. And when you compromise yourself to fit in, you lose your power to be yourself. Right? And so that's kind of where I'm coming from with that. Personal power is also robbed when you're stuck in anger and blame, and also in shame, which is a subset from that's just the other end of the anger thing. Um, and so, what I love to do, one of my favorite techniques, it's in my um, personal power incubator program, is you take anger that's in your body and you voice it outside of your body, so it becomes outrage, and you voice it in a way that you don't hurt any other people. And then once you get that fray cleared out of your nervous system, then because anger is a life force energy of I deserve better, then you get to be clear of, yeah, I deserve better. And then there's a way to separate and put in energetic boundaries around up leveled self worth, self esteem, personal value. There's some forgiveness that goes on in that whole situation as well. And so, personal power is the power to say uncomfortable things in a relationship that you really care about. It's the power to ask for things that you've never asked for before. It's the power to um, boldly walk towards your goals, even if no one else has done it before. As you know, it's the path of a leader, and uh, yeah. So I can go off on another tangent with that if you'd like,
Go for
for
it. Yeah,
why.
keep going. Yeah.
Okay, so leaders often don't know they're leaders. That was me. I didn't know I was a leader. Like when I got guided to the leadership table at Tony Robbins, like I'm not a leader. No one follows me. But the truth is, when soul purpose archetypes, the one of the main archetypes of a leader is you can't be a leader unless you've got a parent that's a leader. And one of the behaviors of a leader is they always make everyone around them support them, right? And so the stronger the leader, the more they make people around them people pleasers. So that's what happened to me. So my mom was a leader, my dad was a leader, my brother was a leader, and then there was me, and they all just kind of whoosh. And the empath that I am, I'm like, okay. And I became a floor mat, a doormat, floor mat. And so when you have the archetype of a leader and you're squished, at least from my perspective and the people I've worked with, we know we have a lot of power, but we also know that we capitulate, that we just let other people take over. And it doesn't feel good. But and so learning how to really embrace, yeah, I am a leader. And how do I do that from love? And oftentimes, when you're going back to personal power and anger, a lot of times a soul quality of a leader, especially in a high achieving leader, it's my way or the highway. And they're very micromanaging. And being on the receiving end of that is like, and in defense, you put up a mask, you make a vow, I will never be like that because I don't want to hurt someone, or I will never receive that again. I hate that. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm a big boundary on it. But boo hiss, go away. And so the healing for that allows for two things. One is you heal the relationship with the boo hiss, mean, nasty, and ugly leader that you've put a boundary around. And you reclaim your personal power, your personal, there's another word for it, but your ability to stand for what you believe in and motor on through.
Hmm. I want to talk for a minute about your book entitled The Freedom to Flourish, stop hustling and become profitable. You connect your experience with martial arts over 20 years in being martial arts to business. And so, one of the ways that you describe that early on in the book, and I'll just read this quote: I realize that any entrepreneur who is on a heart and soul led mission to impact with their unique and amazing gifts has to be aligned with their own heart, soul, and spiritual life purpose if they want to make the impact and the profits that they've been called to make. And so we've been talking about this in terms of being authentic, stepping into your power. But you, in this statement, use a little bit of a different phrase, talking about being aligned with your heart, that you have to be aligned with your heart if you're going to make both the impact and the profits. How does being aligned with your heart result in impact and profits?
Well, spiritually speaking, spiritual anatomy is um, your heart serves your soul. Your brain serves your heart, and your heart serves your soul. Most of us are wired for our brain ignores our hearts and does it anyway. Brain is for survival. Soul is for thriving. So we live in a time of amazing abundance. Doesn't feel like it because we're inundated with all this fear of scarcity, but even the homeless have a cell phone or access to a cell phone. And that's an abundant time. And so it becomes um, and we're entering an age of change, of course, which is why all this awakening is happening. And the part of that awakening is more compassion and loving towards people instead of bottom line profits. And so to profit in this new energy, new dimension, new age of being, um, and to thrive and to do it with peace, with ease, with comfort, with joy, with happiness, and with full impact, soul to soul, instead of AI logic, get the job done, right? Um, you need to align with your heart. And how do you do that? That's the $62 question or 56, I don't know what dollar question, but it's a big question. And that's what I teach that's like day one. I teach everybody that day one.
Mhm. Talk to me about why you have been, what is it about martial arts that has been so attractive to you? And what are the lessons that you've learned from martial arts, both personally, but then also how's that played into your professional or business life?
So the style of martial arts I study and is Danzan Ryu Jiu Jitsu, and it's the purpose of the system is they quote perfection of character, and what that means is at first you just learn the techniques like we do in life. We learn how to walk, we learn how to read, we learn how to write, and then if you really want to have a lot of power of presence, if you want to be a winner in a duel, in a match, it all comes from being in your center, from being aligned. And the center is because it's not just it's mind, body, and spirit. In martial arts, embodies that. So your body has to be in alignment. Your mind has to be empty, without preconceived notions, without the masks, and just totally present in the moment. And your spirit needs to be connected to heaven and to earth so that you can light up that passion inside. And once you do that, that's mastery. It takes a lifetime to get there. And some people who've even done it a lifetime don't get there. And I'm not saying that I'm there, I'm aiming for it. But I hang out with a lot of men and women who have, and talk about master healers and humility. That's them. So how does that happen in business and in life? Well, jujitsu is all about redirecting energy. So if someone's coming at you with a punch, you get off the line, right? And if you redirect it and you move it and you turn it and you blend with it and you move, um, and you co-create, and it's with intention. And if anything to do with coaching with Tony Robbins stuff, it's all about, well, what's your outcome? What's your intention? And in martial arts is, with the techniques, it's someone, you're reaching at me and I don't like you and you threaten me. I'm going to break your wrist and put you on the floor. I'm going to throw you on your head. And that's your whole soul aligned, whole being intention. And in business, it's, I'm going to make this money with the impact of my heart and soul. And that's the intention. And to, and to align it that fully. Um, I could probably go on, so I need another prompt.
Well, I'm curious about this because in chapter 11 of your book, and by the way, Grace's book is available on Amazon. We'll have links to it in the show notes. You can click on that on your phone. You say in chapter 11, the right strategy and technique plus capital PLUS internal focus power equals the power to succeed. So that's the
Yeah.
very thing that you're talking about right now. You have to have the right strategy and technique, got to start with the basics, plus internal focus power. You used a word in the book that I'm not sure how to pronounce. I don't have it right in front of me about that power. Kai, is it kai chi? Kai, is it I can't
Ki?
remember the word.
Oh, the
There you
ki?
go. Ki. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ki. The
Yeah.
ki.
Talk to us about that, and because that's the internal focus power, is that right?
Yeah, it's the expression of it. Yes.
Okay, talk to us about that because I think so much of the internet, especially people who are watching that are maybe spiritual entrepreneurs, coaches, leaders, or you're just basically you have a job, you're wanting to succeed in that role, and so much of the content that is focused online is strategy. Follow this 1, 2, 3 pattern. You'll have the results of either being branded, marketed, or a sales strategy. Right? We all need that. We all need those strategies. But the part that seems to be missing for a lot of us, I think, could be wrong, is that internal focus power, right?
Yeah.
And you're talking about our soul, our heart, our authenticity. I'm just
That is a
curious
power. The power
about
of love.
how you're connecting that with martial arts. I think that's interesting.
Okay, so the very first, in my style of martial arts, the very first art on the list is an escape from an outside wrist grip, right? And it's very simple. It's like a big C. And the last on the whole list, and there's like probably, I don't know, a couple hundred techniques to learn. The last one on the list is Munin Muso, which is empty mind, no mind. And when you're not using your mind, you're pure spirit. And so so you go through all the list, all the techniques, the first time through, the second time through, the third time through. Each time more connected to the spirit within. So you're not thinking, it's just who you are and what you're doing. And so in just technique and strategy, it's just really cool because there's a lot of physics involved, and just the difference between putting your finger here and there is huge in effectiveness, and also being centered and on the inside, so that we've heard of the calm within the storm, right? So martial artists are that's what they train their whole lives, to be the calm within the storm of life. And that's what I teach in my personal power incubator program, is how does that look like for you? You don't have to do martial arts to do that. You do that with this internal building of heart and soul, and it's a tangible feeling inside. And the same with martial arts. They don't talk about it till you get there because there's a lot of power involved. And with power, it's always a double-edged sword. It could be used for evil or for good. And back to my martial arts, um, what's cool about it that I love is the same techniques and striking points that harm or kill can be used on the massage table to heal. And so we practice a lot of the upper arts by doing massage. So, it's a proprietary Master Okulaki's long life massage, right? And but taking that to business, I struggled for probably about 10 years of taking strategy marketing, course creation strategy, business strategy. Oh, no, don't do this, do that. You need a funnel. No, you don't. You need a call to action. And to tell you the truth, I'm excellent at implementing strategy, but nothing worked. It fell flat. And that's because the low self esteem from being the victim and the masks of covering up my insecurities kept a wall between me and other people and the connections. And
Mhm.
so that plus the deservingness and the worthiness of there's a laundry list of things, and it's different for everybody. But so that's why I said strategy plus internal focus is what it takes.
Mhm.
Because if you think of a jet taking off the tarmac, it's just right, and it's traveling along, and the engines fire up, and then when it's ready to take off, it fires up horsepower up the wazoo to get off the ground. And once off the ground, then it's cruising. The same for people in business that are going through their ceiling of influence, their ceiling of financial, their ceiling of impact, or if they're at home, their ceiling, their walls of protection against intimacy and connection. And that takes energy and power, and that comes from the power of your heart and your soul, because that's where we thrive. It's a tangible feeling that you build within you. It becomes like a training tool. And that's the place where not only do you feel good, you can self validate your intuition. You heal from there and you create from there.
Hmm.
To me, it's
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm. So we're talking about oftentimes when people think about martial arts, of course, there's just a demonstration of technique, but there is the sense that you're competing, you're fighting against another person. And you recently wrote in an Awaken magazine article about the need for us to stop fighting ourselves through self sabotage.
Yeah.
So, this idea of self sabotage, what are some clues that we might be sabotaging ourselves in relationships, in business, in life? And then what can we do to perhaps stop?
So, clues for self sabotage. So for in business, of course, is feeling like you're stuck in mud. You can't move forward. You have the strategy, you know what to do, and you don't do it. Or you have cycles of, oh, I made a lot of money this month, and then I didn't. Or you can't. You've got a big fear of being on stage, of saying the truth, or asking for the sale. In relationships, it's being afraid to really say, I don't like that. I want this. This doesn't feel good. I want that.
Mhm.
Or calling someone on their inappropriate behavior. And overall, it's a feeling, wake up call, anything that's a wake up call, your health, your wealth, your relationships. If you've got toxic relationships, yeah, maybe the other person's presenting with all the wrong behaviors, but you're in relationship, so there's your end of the relationship, and once you heal that, you no longer need to attract that kind of relationship. Is that
Mhm.
did I answer that?
Yeah, yeah. So how do I so I'm getting clues. Oh my goodness, I'm sabotaging myself.
Yes.
What's like the solution, so to speak? Or is it heading back to my authenticity, embracing my personal power and
Yeah.
those steps?
So what I would do is I do these mindset makeovers inside my program, and then I have a free well, it's not a free challenge. I started charging for it now because it's really fantastic. So mindset makeover. And so basically what you do is you look at where you're sabotaging yourself, and you're like, oh, what would I have to believe in order for this to me to be doing that? And then so you stack dump all the reasons, how do you feel, whatnot. And then on the opposite side of the page, because you've written these down, you what was I really trying to achieve instead? What do I really want instead? And then that becomes your affirmations that are soul aligned. And remember, there's nothing more powerful than who you are inside your essence, your soul, and your heart. So that's more powerful than these quotes, self sabotaging things, which are fear. And when I wrote in the articles that self sabotage protects this tender part of you, this light part of you from being threatened, attacked. But self sabotage is from ever so long ago. And so keeping that in mind and remembering, oh, this is simply outdated programming. Feels real, seems real, isn't real.
Mhm.
False evidence appearing real. And then using that, and you can do it by yourself. It's easier with a coach, it's easier with a healer, um, to let go, or you can use tapping or any kind of energy healing technique to let go of the self sabotaging behaviors because, yeah, I don't need this anymore. And I did it because X, Y, and Z happened. Maybe there's some forgiveness to happen in there. And then you flourish, freedom to flourish. You flourish with these soul aligned um, affirmations, intentions, and you know you're flourishing. You know they're real because you feel it inside. The
Hmm.
same intensity as you know when you're hungry, you know when you're sleepy, you know when you're soul aligned.
Mhm. You mentioned earlier your personal power incubator program. What is this program? Who is it for? Is it one-on-one? Is it group? Is it, the number of weeks? Just tell us all about it.
So, my personal power incubator program can be done one on one, it can be done in small groups of three, and it can be done in a group setting depending upon your entry price point and your amount of need. I also do VIP days. Actually, they're like this VIP month. But basically, the whole outcome is to um, pick an area in your life that feels like you're crawling through mud, that's not working, and then step by step go through the consciousness of each of the chakra systems to clear all the aspects of it and to let go of the anger and rechannel it into a self-respecting boundaries. And then you change your identity, you become a different person and align your mindset with what works, with what the strategy is that is also in alignment with spiritual principles. And, a big one for heart centered entrepreneurs is that not being able to ask for the sale, like I can't charge $10,000 for my 6-month program, right? And that's cheap for the transformation that they get. And so the mindset is sales is service because if I'm not selling, they're not in my program, they're not getting the help they need that I know they need that I can help them with. And it is this much because when they're done and I know I can get them there, their lives can be changed in so many different ways that the value is less than, is 1,000 times less than what they pay, 1,000
Mhm.
times more than what they
More.
pay.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah,
Get that
yeah,
right. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
All
1,000
right.
times less. So, and so what I do inside that program is help you, integrate into your nervous system so it's conscious competence that you believe that. And the same thing with in relationships. I am lovable. And I mix business and money and um, relationships all together because when it comes down to it, because I've been doing this 30 years and I've been getting lots of downloads. And when it comes down to it, it's your relationship between love, money, and power. And when you recognize that they're all, if you ever did algebra, if you put an equal sign in between them all, love is money, can be the exchange of money. Power can be the exchange of love. Power can be the exchange of money. And if you put love, money, and power together in the highest thing, you get upward spirals of co creation, of abundance. And that's kind of what I teach.
Mm. You're also a speaker, and talk to me about who you speak to and with, and really what sets you apart as a speaker that someone would want to invite you to be a part of their summit or online training or in person or retreat. Talk to me about your uniqueness as a speaker.
So my uniqueness as a speaker right now is um, I'm training myself up and been trained up to speak from stage in a storytelling capacity of my hero's journey from victim to victimizer to victorious, and then practical teachings at the end of it. And I really enjoy doing that as a keynote. I don't know, because of my voice. Excuse me. I really enjoy doing that as a keynote speech in business settings because it's entertainment plus practical spirituality. Like one of the main tools I use is how to use namaste to make your spiritual purpose more powerful than your fears. And it's simple, it's easy to grasp, and very, very effective. It's impactful.
Wonderful. If somebody wants to book you as a speaker or work with you in your personal power incubator program or just follow you on social media, what's the best place for them to connect with you?
The best place to connect with me is call gracemosgeller.com, CALL, Grace Mosgeller. And there you can schedule an appointment with me. I can get to know you and direct you in any direction that you need. If you want to book me as a speaker, I have a like a portfolio page, and it's called bookgracemoskeller.com.
Wonderful. Book gracemoskeller.com for speaking. Call gracemoskeller.com for connecting with you. I know you have kind of a get to know you call and a spiritual goal setting call, even just to be able to get to know people at no charge so that they can feel like, is this a good fit to work with you as a coach? So, Grace, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your life, your experience with us. I also want to draw people's attention back to your book called The Freedom to Flourish, Stop Hustling and Become Profitable. You can pick that up on Amazon. The link is in the show notes for this podcast. So,
So one thing
Grace,
about wait, before you close up, the one thing about that book is in the book are links to um, bonus resources. There's a couple of guided meditations to get you aligned with that inner soul feeling. And I just updated the soul purpose relationship so you can really start to understand the difference in the relationships and why people act um, horrible when they're unconscious. And then what their higher purpose really is. And so, yeah, it's very, very useful.
wonderful. The Freedom to Flourish. Be sure to pick up the book on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle or paperback. So, Grace, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and connecting with us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you very, very much. And I hope this helps somebody. That's my whole intention.